Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another Retrogears episode. In this video we are going to continue with the Pac-Man theme from last video. As you may remember, it was about a Coleco tabletop Pac-Man game that I found, and you may remember me mentioning a handheld Pac-Man clone I had as a kid that I remembered as being more fun to play than the Coleco one. And now, is this just nostalgia talking, or is it in fact more fun? Well, I got curious and dove into my dusty boxes with collected junk, dwelling in the murky depths of my wardrobe, and I actually found the game. It's called Epoch-man, and it is an handheld LCD game manufactured by Epoch back in 1981. And as far as I've been able to research, it is a fairly common game. You can find it on eBay pretty easily, and it was released in at least two different versions, one larger and one pocket-sized version, which is the one I am showing you in this video. The game is also known as Pac-Man, and I think that is a Japanese release of the game, and it was also released in the UK and in New Zealand by Grandstand under the name Mini-Munchman. Epoch is a Japanese toy and games manufacturer that was founded in 1958, and they actually still exist today. They released many different handheld games in the 70s and in the 80s, as well as publishing games for the Super Famicom and other systems. They are also well known, or should I say perhaps infamous, for releasing the Barcode Battler in the 90s. And they also made Japan's first successful programmable console video game system called the Epoch Cassette Vision, which was released in 1981. And check out the light gun for this system. Is that cool or what? What can I say? Light guns were just so much cooler looking back in the dark ages of video gaming. Of course, one minor drawback is that you could probably rob a bank using this gun, but hey, that's the price you pay for an aesthetically pleasing light gun, right? Now, ever since Nintendo introduced their Game & Watch series in 1980, every other handheld game had to feature a watch and an alarm. And many manufacturers gave their game series names similar to Game & Watch, like Play and Time, Time and Fun, Game and Time, and similar endless variations of the Game & Watch name. Epoch-man doesn't seem to be part of the series, but it does of course have a watch and an alarm. It even has a built-in stopwatch and a calendar, which I don't think was very common back then. Oddly enough, it hasn't got a stand, which most other handhelds had, like the Game & Watch series for instance. Not that it matters much though, I don't think I ever used the watch or even set it once. I mean, really, did anyone actually use the watch and alarm in these games? How about you guys? Let me know in the comments, that could be fun. I mean, I had one interest in this device and one interest alone: to play the crap out of the game. I didn't care about the time. Time was the enemy. Time meant you had to go to bed, to school, or do other things you didn't want to do. I strongly suspect that the built-in watch was just a good excuse to convince your parents that you needed a new game, alarm clock, so you could wake up in time for school in the mornings, right? Here's the manual. It does manually things like it's supposed to, like telling you how stuff works, stuff that you've already figured out by yourself because you didn't read it in the first place. And as you can see, mine is in excellent condition, hardly ever opened. Who needs a manual anyway? It's not rocket science, I mean it's Pac-Man for God's sake, but it's nice to have nonetheless, and now you've seen it, so let's move on. The game is a blatant Pac-Man ripoff with some minor changes. Instead of pills you eat fruits, there's only 2 ghosts chasing you, and the play area is pretty small compared to most other Pac-Man clones. There are 2 power stars that work like the power pills do in the original Pac-Man game, and instead of bonus fruits there's a question mark that shows up in the middle of the maze that will award you with a random amount of points if you can get to it before it disappears. There's also 2 tunnels that open and close, and 2 bridges that you can travel underneath. Now the tricky thing with the bridges are that there's also one invisible fruit under each bridge that you can't see if you've eaten or not. You have to remember it. The bridges and the opening closing tunnels are pretty simple additions to the gameplay, but they do add to the challenge and make the game more interesting and more fun to play. Looking at the big graphics and the small play area might have you believe that the gameplay is overly simple and maybe even dull. That is, however, not the case. In fact, the small play area is the strength of the game as far as I'm concerned. You can quickly clear the maze and the game will pick up speed very quickly. You really need to get into the zone with this one, and if you hesitate for a second on the higher levels, you are doomed and the ghost will eat your face. The AI of the ghosts are kind of interesting. They seem to initially like to hang out in the top half of the maze, but as the game picks up speed, they seem to change tactics, and at times it felt like they were actually working together to flank me. Maybe it's just me being paranoid, or maybe the small maze making the ghosts come off as being smarter than they are, but in any case, it works pretty well. You have 3 lives when you start the game, and you can earn extra lives at 500 and 1500 points. Surprisingly enough, the game has only got 1 difficulty level, and there's even an ending to it. Once you reach 2000 points, the game ends. Don't know why they picked 2000, nice round number maybe. The manual calls it the perfect score, and no, I haven't achieved it, not yet anyway. The game is surprisingly enough still a lot of fun to play. Not many LCD games from the 80s have aged this well. So I would have to say yes, that this is definitely more fun to play than the Coleco tabletop of last video. And as you can see, I'm trying to show you the gameplay here and I'm doing pretty terrible. It's pretty hard to play behind the camera while not moving the unit around too much, so sorry for crappy gameplay and slightly shaky footage. The graphics are big, cute and clear. There's no doubt about exactly what type of fruit you are stuffing your face with. The display looks pretty crisp, but it does flicker a bit. The sound effects are decent, nothing really special. There's some moderately bearable tunes. And the usual bleeps and bloops. But at least the sound effects doesn't make me want to cut my ears off, as was the case with the Coleco tabletop Pac-Man of last video. This sounds a lot better, or should I say a lot less annoying. The game takes 2 LR44 batteries. Same type of batteries that can be used in the Game & Watch series of games. So, to sum it all up, I have to say this is a pretty high quality handheld with still enjoyable gameplay. Certainly better than most Pac-Man clones at the time, and yes, I certainly enjoyed it more than the Coleco's Pac-Man. And if you want to, you can find the game pretty easily on eBay at around $15 to $20. And before we end the video, I would like to send out a big shout out and thank you to Steve over at miniarcade.com for letting me use a whole bunch of pictures of epic games. Thank you very much, Steve. Don't forget to check out his site, I will put a link in the description. So guys, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to do all that stuff you're supposed to do after a YouTube video. You know, subscribe, like and all that. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, bye.